Okay, hi, it's Jenny again from America. This is for anyone that's interested in giving me some assistance here. And if you don't have time, I totally understand. We all have busy lives. Now, I am just looking at this from outside looking in and my nurse thing here. Something's always bothered me about Liverpool Women's Hospital. And let me give you some background information here from America. I worked at a wonderful suburban hospital that was not a university or medical school hospital, meaning we didn't have the interns and residents per se. And we weren't what we would call a teaching hospital. However, we were part of that system that our main hub was essentially the hospital, the general hospital, and then the children's hospital that was associated with an incredible, wonderful medical school. That's where all the interns, residents, teaching went on. And that's where we would send our super high risk issues when it came to maternity stuff. Now, again, when you think of America and you think of a major city that I live in, it's like having 3 different trusts, meaning you may have, say, 10 different hospitals, but 3 different owners, okay? Now, my hospital was I was the suburban hospital. Think of the main hospital where the children's would go and everything like that would be the Liverpool Women's Hospital and a general hospital per se that would be in Liverpool. And I was out in, we'll just say Chester. But again, we were at that community, but we always thought of ourselves as a satellite to that hospital. And whatever happened to that main hospital, that main children's hospital, whatever was going on there, it hadn't affected us because we were siblings. Think of us as siblings. Now, we thought of ourselves, again, we have 4 levels of neonatal intensive care units. You have 3, but essentially ours is pretty much a lot like yours. It's just spread out into 4 different levels versus yours is 3. We thought of ourselves, again, as a way to also relieve pressure off of that main top level, that level 4 children's hospital neonatal intensive care unit. We tried to take care of as much, and we're expected to take care of as much as we could in order to keep open the cribs on the cots, the cribs, whatever, for them. Also, we would sometimes if there was babies that were even farther out than we would take those babies instead of that baby sent to the children's hospital. But again, we had certain guidelines we felt with, but we also had this wonderful communication, and we had an incredible neonatal transport thing that we all worked together. That children's hospital did not regard itself as the king, if you get my drift, as whatever. We all worked together. And again, because we were one system, and we knew that if, let's just say, our system failed, there was another one in the city that could take over. We were competing trusts. Now, I'm looking at I remember all your maternity scandals because it made national news. And again, as a nurse that did chart auditing, both in the adult, the med surg, but also I would occasionally do it in the neonatal and maternity areas. I was interested in what was going on in Europe at the time. Now, I am thinking here that Macomb Bay, again, we're looking at all these maternity scandals here that I remember. The Macomb-Morecambe Bay, and I do apologize if I am pronunciating that incorrectly, was not as much it was a big deal, but it didn't hit as much as the other ones. And here is why. Because with Macomb Bay, who took the fall for it? It was midwives. So the Liverpool doctors, or the bigwigs, yes, it affected them, but it may not have affected them as much. And again, this was a couple of hours away, if I'm not mistaken, if I look on the map. This is the one I'm thinking scared the shit out of them. Shrewsbury and Telford was close too. And I'm assuming East Kent too. So let's look at our timeline here. 2015, Macomb Bay. Yes, it was a bit of a scare to them. And the Dr. Kirkup report had to have an effect on them. But they also had to have known that this was coming down the pipeline. They knew that this is when the inquiries were. So I'm thinking this, Women's Hospital had to protect its ass, all right? Had to keep the statistics. What I really saw and really bothered me a couple of days is there was 2 babies that Brewery and the gang wanted Lucy to have a fall on. Both of them had genetic conditions. There was no reason for them to have stayed at Countess of Chester, but if they would have gone to Liverpool Women's, that would have had an effect on its statistics. Also, these twins that are being born at the Countess of Chester Hospital, they're not your average healthy twins that I remember at my hospital. They represent the twins, the identical twins that share an amniotic sac, that share a placenta, that have things called twin-to-twin transfusion, have intrauterine growth restriction. Again, those are the multiples that would have an effect on the statistics from Liverpool Women's Hospital. All right, they're not the healthy multiples. These are the unhealthy multiples. And I hate to say, I don't want to use this word at all, but essentially Liverpool Women's Hospital, I have to question, were they giving up on these babies? They weren't the stars. They weren't the healthy multiples. They were the ones that, let's face it, they were easy to reject. So were they encouraging these moms to then birth at Countess of Chester and making them feel as if it was safe? Were they did they know the risk that they had? Also, that whole transport scheme thing, let's look at this. Where was it headed? It was Liverpool Women's Hospital. Who was the big guy? Bill Yoxall. I like to call him Bill the Bastard Yoxall. Good friend of Brewery. Brewery, we know, spent a lot of time at Liverpool Women's Hospital supposedly doing lectures. I don't know, scheming. And there was something in this for Brewery too. Again, there is something deeper here, and it involves, again, you have to protect the Countess of Chester Hospital in order to protect the Liverpool Women's Hospital. Again, my hospital, my good neonatal unit that I loved working at, or loved doing chart audits. I was not a neonatal nurse. We did what we could to protect that children's hospital. We made sure that we would take good care of our babies here. So we didn't have to send them out, or we actually made sure that we knew which ones to send out. And guess what? That children's hospital responded to us because we worked well. We mutually protected ourselves in the best of way. Again, and also in America here, I hate to say it, we have some nasty lawyers that are willing, let's face it, biting at the chops. Would love to see a good maternity scandal, and nothing makes more millions of dollars than a good, I hate to say this, a fetal demise, a baby death, a mother dying, a mother having problems. I mean, if you want to hit the big time, that is that. But I'm also proud to say that we took care of our moms too. Now, we had a lot of high risk. I remember seeing twin-to-twin transfusions, moms with APS at my things. But we had a wonderful, wonderful high risk obstetrician who worked closely with the neonatologist. And he was on the level. That's Martin Pittman reminds me of him too. And what I remember a lot about these births is that I can't remember an emergency C-section where I'm seeing emergency C-sections on a lot of these Countess of Chester Hospital. He took such good care of them that he made damn sure that he timed those deliveries to where it was what we would call an elective cesarean section, per se. I also remember a lot of our transportations on our emergency situations happened late at night when I wasn't there. I essentially worked Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, kind of banker's hours. All I had to do was to just notify the insurance company and to let them know that, hey, the baby may have been born here, the mom is still here, but the baby had to be transferred to children's. I didn't have to do a deep dive. That was enough for the insurance. What I do remember, the day transfers, unless it was in a birth that happened during the day, it mostly were what we would call more of an elective type of a transfer. Wow, something baby might have been born with something congenital that was not noticed on the scans. But the baby was essentially stable, and we were able to keep that baby stable. And then that transport team came in between the other emergency transfers that they had to do for the other hospitals. But also, our team of doctors were all neonatologists, but they were part of the group of neonatologists, that physicians group that also took care of those babies in the children's hospitals. So they would essentially rotate in and out, per se. And again, their colleague was part of that physician's group. Their colleague was that physician at that children's hospital, per se. They had, again, wonderful working relationship. So let's look at all these timelines here when things are coming out. So look at these dates here, guys. Let's see if we can coincide these dates with what happened to Lucy. Okay? Also, and again, my city is a proud city with wonderful history of giving good medical care. If we let our medical school that we were associated with go to hell, our city would have died. All right? It is one of the, we are kind of like Liverpool in the sense that the manufacturing is gone, but we still have the healthcare. It is important for us to maintain that good healthcare in that city as a reputation. If you let Liverpool Women's Hospital and its satellites go to hell, that's going to destroy the city and that area. North United Kingdom is having its issues, just like we are in America, in the Midwest here. Again, that's why the cops wanted to protect, the CPS wanted to protect everything. They wanted to protect their city, too. Unfortunately, Lucy's having to do this. Let's look at all these timelines. Let's see if we can put things together here. Okay? And what happened to Lucy? And all these reports, stuff that's coming out in the media. And again, I am so sorry. So sorry, these babies that were sent there. Again, Brewery was willing to take the rejects and take the pressure off of Liverpool Women's Hospital. Let's find out why. There's got to be a reason. What was in it for Brewery? Bye-bye.